have you ever felt you have more responsibility because of the opportunities you've been given?
100%. For me, I feel that, but I feel an even bigger sense of a burden because for me to know as Diale, I've come to school here and I'm doing this education, I'm gonna graduate, whatnot. The thing that I still don't want to go back home after all of this, despite knowing that we are the face of the country and we are the people who can change. It's an internal conflict because I'm having the whole, no one else is going to help my country or help our conditions except for me. But also the point about us thinking that we have to help people, but them actually potentially having to help us almost brings me solace because then it's like I still want to help, but maybe a bit controversial, but the country's future is not solely based on my shoulders. Like it's more of a mutually beneficial relationship than me going back to like save something.
I think it's in two parts because I think on the one side there's an element of grief for how wide your dreams could be. We could be thinking about things that have more of an individualistic career, but no matter what field anybody goes into, they're always going to move back into wanting to do something back at home. Whether it's education or sociology, they'll always want to go back home. And in some parts, I think it's our strength because having that sense of community allows you to also have a sense of belonging. I think those elements of it are what allow you to be able to get out of the savior mindset and more into the cooperative thing. I always think of Obi Okonkwo from Things Fall Apart. He wanted to make the changes and he came in with all of this vigor, excitement, but at the end of the day, you can't go in as an individual and expect to change a system. Part of that is also recognizing that there's a lot more to do. I think as Professor Du was mentioning now, that you touch on something and then you find something large and you keep unraveling layers. That's overwhelming on its own because then you realize that just within your lifetime you're not going to be able to fix everything and you're like, I need to, like, even the things that aren't in my career field, I want to go in and do something there. The greatest thing you can do is just like inspire hope, inspire faith, work with other people. I think collaboration and integration allow us to be able to create more stronger foundations of change. I think it also calls to the fact that we need more spaces within the African context that are for African students, because even coming to America and like say going to a historically black college or university inspires that feeling of belonging and joint collective effort, but at the same time it still lacks that African perspective truly. That also calls to us like thinking about what spaces do we have at home to be able to exercise these new growth opportunities and how open are people to hearing those, especially when you come from an American context.
My better proficiency in English compared to Setswana has been mainly because of the education throughout my life. My language of instruction has always been English, where I've been English and to some extent French, but I'd say English is considered the language of when people from different nations come together. That's the language usually that they choose to communicate in. So that may also be why my English is better. The reason I brought up the point about me moving around a lot is because I don't think the language of instruction being English alone is enough of a reason for me not to be proficient in Setswana. I say this because I know plenty of people back home, peers who have learned in English in schools their whole life, but they are still way more proficient at Setswana than I am. So I don't think that on its own is a reason. I think it's just the sum of all my experiences.
It's a pity that I cannot speak my language. I can remember how to count from 1 to 4. And there's some words that my dad always throws around that I remember, but I don't know how to speak my native language. My native language is Mbatu. I'm from the Northwest region. While listening, I was thinking about what some of the reasons are for why I cannot speak. And what's different with both your backgrounds is that for us, there's no shame to not knowing how to speak. My mom doesn't know how to speak hers, and it's so embarrassing. It was a sense of pride for me where I was like, yeah, like my mom is so good at English, she can't speak her native language. I can't speak mine either. Like we're just, intellect in this family. And my dad, who can speak, never spoke with us. Could also be that because there's 2 languages. There's, you're learning English and you're learning French, or you're learning French and you're learning English. There's another language that you have to learn. And I don't know whether it made us all feel proficient where there was no need to connect with our our native languages. I think another thing could be because there's so many different native languages. Hypothetically speaking, if I were fluent, I would only be able to speak with my dad and my grandparents, whom I talk to maybe like once every few months. So there wouldn't have been a lot of ground to practice, which increased that disconnect and made me feel like no connection to it. It's interesting how me leaving Cameroon has made me want to connect so much more. And I think that's just because when I look at my surroundings, there's not a lot of things that remind me of Cameroon. There's not a lot of things that bring that sense of home. So now I really wish I knew how to speak, even just speaking to myself. Like that would have been nice. But when I listen to you people now, I find it so interesting that if anything, people look at you as superior. Obviously when you're English and you're French or fluent, but there's no shame to not knowing how to speak your language. It's almost like, oh, like, you know, she's educated like that, you know?